In chapter 5, we learn that Ralsei has what's being called fire magic. We only see him use it for a brief moment, but we also hear him tell Flowery that he could burn him down in an instant. Up until now, Ralsei has always appeared to be a purely supportive party member. His role has been healing, pacifying, and guiding the group. Yet suddenly, in chapter 5, it confirms that he possesses offensive magic, powerful enough to threaten another character. That immediately raises the question, if Ralsei can use offensive magic, why have we never been allowed to? It's interesting, because in the same chapter, Ralsei starts explaining the menu to Susie before getting cut off because this isn't the first time Ralsei has demonstrated unusual knowledge of game mechanics. Ever since chapter 1, he seems strangely familiar with menus, battles, and systems that should only exist for the player's benefit. Why can't we use fire magic? I think this actually implies a lot. I think Ralsei knows about the weird route. I think Ralsei knows how to hide elements of the menu from us. I think Ralsei knows far more than what we think. So, what do we know? We know that Ralsei threatens to use his power against Flowery. We know that he uses it in an extreme situation. And we also know that he's already used it actually in chapter 4. However, he didn't use it to hurt anyone, only to create smoke. But that's not the only interesting thing chapter 5 gives us. Flowery himself demonstrates something that shouldn't be possible. During his fight, he's able to modify his own stats. His attack and defense values visibly change throughout the battle. His attack and defense values are fake. This is incredibly important because stats are normally presented as fixed game mechanics, numbers and controlled by the game itself, not by the characters living inside it. Yet, Flowery is seemingly capable of manipulating them himself. That tells us something fascinating. Characters may be able to directly interact with the battle systems in ways we previously assumed only the game could. If Flowery can alter his own status, then perhaps battle commands, spells, and menus aren't as untouchable as we thought either. And most importantly for my theory, we know that Ralsei knows about the menu, just as much as Flowery does. In chapter 2, we manipulate Noelle into using her ice magic to freeze every enemy in our path. Unlike a normal playthrough, we're no longer making choices that Chris or the other characters would naturally make. We're abusing the game's mechanic to force Noelle down a path she desperately doesn't want to take. Eventually, this culminates into Noelle casting Snowgrave, freezing Birdly to death. This is what begins the entire weird route. It's the first time we, as the player, use the game's mechanic to fundamentally alter the story. Instead of following the path the prophecy seems to lay out, we exploit menu, commands, and magic to force an outcome that's never supposed to happen. The important part isn't just that Noelle has ice magic, it's that we're allowed to use it. In fact, we can use Snowgrave before Noelle even knows she's capable of casting it. It's almost as if we know more about her own abilities before she does. When we first command her to use Snowgrave, she outright says she doesn't know that spell. Yet the command already exists in the menu before Noelle herself has any knowledge of it. That detail has always been strange. The menu isn't simply reflecting what the characters know, it can reveal possibilities before the characters themselves discover them. Back to Ralsei. Throughout the game, Ralsei has never shown any offensive attacks, as I said before, but in chapter 5 he proves that he has these abilities. So why aren't they available? What if Ralsei has become so aware of the menu that he can choose what the player sees? What if he can hide commands just as easily as reveal them? If characters can influence mechanics like stats and commands, then perhaps the menu itself isn't some objective interface. Maybe it's something knowledgeable characters can particularly influence. We all know that Flowery is almost as knowledgeable as Ralsei, but Ralsei is even more. So, if it's possible that Flowery can alter the stats, maybe Ralsei can do the opposite. Instead of gaining new commands, perhaps he's hiding existing ones. But why? Why would Ralsei hide his own commands? Does he know about the weird route? And if he does, how would that even be possible? Look, I'm not even going to try to explain how Ralsei knows. That's a theory for another day. But I do think there's evidence that he can sense the difference between routes. For example, in chapter 5, if you board the weird route, Ralsei is noticeably happier. Those moments suggest that Ralsei can tell when something is off, even if we don't fully understand how much he knows. I'm not convinced Ralsei understands every detail of the weird route. I don't think he necessarily knows every choice we'll make, but I do think he understands one thing. The player can change the story. More specifically, I think Ralsei knows that if the player is given the opportunity to kill, there will always be a chance they'll take it. Once that line is crossed, the player becomes more willing to manipulate the game's mechanics for their own goals, just like they do in the Weird route, or the Genocide route in Undertale. Rather than trusting the player to use his power responsibly, he hides it before we even know it exists. That would also explain why his offensive abilities only appear during moments where Ralsei himself acts independently. Whenever we're controlling him through the menu, these commands are gone. So, let me summarize. Ralsei is probably not just hiding information from the characters, he's probably hiding information from the player. To summarize, we have the evidence like Flowery, which literally modifies his stats in the fights. We also have the evidence of Ralsei acting differently between routes. I think Ralsei is very conscious on what the player can do. But again, this is just a theory. And his Delta rune is very complicated to have a good theory that people won't argue about in the comments. But I think that if at one point it's revealed that Ralsei does hide things from us, it will change how we view him again. Our view of him already changed in chapter 4, at least for me. But if we realize that he's actually hiding information from us, then that will be a massive change in character development. Anyway, I hope you like the theory. But again, it's a theory, so if you don't agree with it, I would love to hear you in the comments like you did in the last video. Thank you so much for the support in the last video, by the way. I can't believe it. I mean, it's the first video on this channel. Go support my other channel too. It's called Crashny. It's been a while now since I upload, but I'm planning a new video soon. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.